Yo, 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 it's your boy Ray Mabry. And first of all, I want to say thank you very much for investing in this course, How to Make 5K in 30 Days Flipping Real Estate. I hope that it will bring a lot of value to you. I hope you can get a lot of great information and nuggets for it. It is a mini course, which means it's not going to be an all inclusive, includes everything you need to know about these various strategies. It's more of an introduction, but at the same time, I wanted to set it up where you can have actionable steps where you can go and get started as early as today. So without further ado, let's get into the course. What I'm going to do is just go through and highlight some of the things that's inside the course, just so you will know what to look for. But as I stated before, just make sure you take action. Go through the course a couple times. Make sure you understand what I'm saying, and then take massive action. So let's get into it. Introduction: How to make 5K in 30 days flipping real estate. And along with this video, you will have this actual ebook as a reference guide. And so, as I stated, I'm going to just go through and highlight certain things. First of all, I'll start off with hello and thank you for taking the time and share your money in this mini course. And the main purpose of this course is to give you a general foundation on different strategies in real estate, in this niche to where you can talk to potential sellers that may need your help. This course will give you actionable steps, as I stated earlier, to implement immediately so you can go and start communicating with sellers as early as today. Now, the very first step I want you to do is I need for you to commit. Commitment. Commitment. Let me say it again, commitment. We can talk about dedication. We can talk about mindset and, go through and all these other type of things, but you got to commit. I ask you to commit right now to going through the entire mini course at least twice and start implementing the strategies once you're done. Please commit to sending out your marketing daily and have a follow-up system for those sellers that you are interested in working with or that's interested in working with you. Make the commitment that you will get past your doubts, fears, and excuses on why you can't be successful as a real estate investor. Today's a new day, and this time things will be different. So commit to the process. Trust the process and go help some people out. You got this. This course is going to be centered around creative financing. And then talking about creative financing, we have to break down what creative financing is. Most of the time, whenever you speak of creative financing, you're talking about three things: owner financing or seller financing, lease option, and subject to. Those are going to be the main things we're going to discuss. I'm not going to go through and read all the benefits of what each one of these strategies provide for you, but just know that if you can become versed on all three of these subjects and you can be able to explain them to the seller in a way where it benefits him or her, and at the same time you can structure the deal to where it's a win-win situation, then you may have you a great deal. I will read the definition, but you can read the benefits on each one of them. Seller financing is a creative way of financing a real estate transaction where the seller slash owner acts as the bank to the buyer. In essence, seller financing can be structured any way the seller and buyer agree to because there's no traditional financing in place. The terms generally include the purchase price, a set interest rate, a down payment, and a schedule of payments. Sometimes there's a balloon payment due at the end of the term, depending on the original price of the property. Seller financing has some advantages over traditional financing for both the seller and the buyer. And as I stated, you can read the benefits. But this is a great alternative if by some chance, let's say your credit is not great, you're a buyer, you want to buy a property for your family, or you want to be a first-time homeowner, but you don't have the credit. But let's say you have some cash that you saved, or you may have some investments out there, or you could have inherited a property that you just recently sold or got some insurance money. And so your credit is not great, but you do have a nice down payment. Seller financing will be great for you. The second strategy, lease option. A lease option, AKA lease purchase, rent with the option to buy, or rent to own, is a creative financing strategy where the seller leases the property to the buyer and agrees to sell the property at a predetermined date as well as price. The agreed sales price locks in both the seller and the buyer, AKA the tenant buyer, because they are leasing the property for a certain period of time. However, the tenant buyer has the option to buy the property at the end of the term. That's why the term lease with an option to buy. Now you may ask, why would the seller agree to terms like this and the buyer isn't obligated? And so you can read the benefits to the lease option here, but just keep in mind it's kind of a more sophisticated strategy where you're basically leasing the property from the owner or the seller, but instead of just being a straight tenant or just leasing it, you're going to agree to buy the property in the future. And a lot of times this is a way for the seller to get a maximum top dollar for their property because they're selling it, say, a year from now, or you're committed to buying it a year from now, or 2 years from now, 3 years from now. And the agreements that you make on the front end, as it states here, it pretty much like locks both of you in. But now, as a tenant buyer, you have the option to fulfill that agreement at the end of the term, or even before the term ends. But a lot of times, this is a creative way for the seller to get a higher price and a higher rent. And you, as a tenant buyer, you can get into a property and become a homeowner. You can treat the property as if it's your personal home because you are in there with the intent to buy it. As I stated, read the benefits and see if there's something that makes sense to you. Next is subject to. A subject to is when a buyer/investor buys a property from a seller and the mortgage stays in the seller's name. The term subject to means that the property has been sold subject to the existing finances that's currently in place on the property. So the tenant, the buyer/investor, is taking responsibility to make the existing mortgage payments on time because the mortgage will still be in the seller's name. The deed/title is transferred in the buyer/investor's name, but the mortgage stays in the seller's name. It's not as complicated as it may sound, and here's some benefits on why the seller will agree to this type of deal. The main thing to keep in mind here is, let's say the seller has a debt on a property. Let's say they have two properties, their personal residence and this property that they're looking to sell. Being that we're currently in a pandemic and people are struggling financially, it may be an extra burden on a seller to have to make two mortgage payments. So this would be an attractive alternative for the seller to say, hey, I can sell my property at a higher than regular price, or normal than like regular price on the MLS, and I can have somebody making payments on my behalf, but yet I still own the property. So that's one of the key benefits for a seller wanting to do something like this. As I stated, you can go through and read the rest of the benefits on why someone would do this. Now, let's talk about your marketing and how you identify these sellers and how you start marketing to these sellers. Because one thing that has been said in the real estate industry, and it's so true, that really and truly, you're not in the real estate industry, you're in the marketing industry. You have to be able to go and market for these deals to see who's motivated to sell their property, one at a deep discount, or what we're discussing here, on terms. And once you identify that person, then if you can agree on a sale price, then you may have a deal in place. So here are the main steps that you can do to get started in talking and communicating with sellers as early as today, like right now. This is what you can start doing. All right, step number 1, sign up for a new Gmail account. The main premises behind this, and I don't know if you've been in the real estate industry yet or you're just getting started, but either way, you want to create some type of generic email. You don't want to brand yourself. like Ray Buys Houses 919 at gmail.com. And 919 is the area code here in Raleigh. Or you don't want to say, fast closing on your house at gmail.com. Nothing dealing with anything indicating that you're a quote unquote investor. You want to come to the seller as just a regular Joe, average Joe, that's interested in trying to see if they're open to selling their property on terms. Once you start communicating with them and you identify a motivated seller, and then you guys can start, having dialogue back and forward, then you can of course let the person know what your intentions are at that point. But when you initially make contact, the first contact, it really doesn't matter um, as far as branding. So I recommend that you don't do that. You just send them a regular email. So just create a simple email. Next, you want to get a free Google Voice with that new email. And I'm going to show you what the Google Voice looks like. I'm also going to show you a couple of different text samples on what you can send to the seller. And then you want to create a spreadsheet. And what I just recommend is just using Google Spreadsheets or Google Sheets. And you just want to have 3 columns: the address, the contact number, and the comments. Then number 4, you're going to go to the free website. We can just start off with Zillow.com. I'm going to show you how and where to find this information to create your list for you to go in and start sending the messages. So first things first, let's work on creating a spreadsheet. And I already have a blank spreadsheet here, but all you want to do is just type in Google Sheets. And once Google Sheets comes up, it's going to normally be the first one. You're going to click on it. And then from there, you want to click on personal. It's not really a business. So you're going to click on go to Google Sheets. And then you just want to create a new spreadsheet. Once you create a new spreadsheet, you're going to just click on this box here. You can just click on any box, but we're going to keep this super simple. If you have Microsoft Office and you have Excel, just the same thing as Excel. Or if you have a MacBook, I know they have a certain a version of spreadsheets as well, so you can use that as well. But just to keep things simple, you can just go and do Google Sheets. All right, and so from here it says you want to add your address, your contact number, and comments. Those are the only 3 columns you need to do. So let's go back. Let's type in address, ADRESS, tab, contact number, tab, and then comments, tab. All right, and you see contact numbers is a little bigger than the box. So all you do is just drag your cursor up here, double click, hold it down, and scroll over. You see there's 2 hours, the 2 hours have to come up, side to side, double click, and then scroll over. Same thing with comments. Double click, scroll over. And this is your list. This is what you're gonna house all of your data for now. If you have a CRM, if you have something fancy already set up, that's fine. But this is a way where you can start marketing to sellers very, very affordably, and you don't have to have a huge budget. So this is why we're doing it this way. So from here, next step is we got to set up the Google Voice, and then we want to go ahead and let's go to Zillow first, and let me show you how to find these leads. So you click on Zillow, just type in Zillow.com, and from here you want to click on buy, and then for sale by owner. So let's go. I actually what you want to do, just kind of hover over it, let this come down, and then click on for sale by owner. Now, what I recommend is let's go with a county. Instead of going with a city, focus on the entire county. So I know a county would be, say, Union, New Jersey. Union County, New Jersey. Or we can go with, let's say, Durham County. Durham County, Durham. See, Durham is a city, but it's also a county. So let's say Durham County, North Carolina. All right, and so now what we're doing is we're looking at the whole county in Durham. And so let's say this property right here, Linwood Avenue. And you can just kind of scroll through and see all the properties that are for sale by owner. What you want to do is just click on the property. And we're not trying to go through and cherry pick. That's in the notes. It really doesn't matter what the property looks like. You just want to go over here and scroll down and keep scrolling until you get to the seller's contact information. Right here, listed by owner. You're going to copy this number here. Control C. Go back to your list. Contact number. Control V. As far as the address, this is the address. Control C. Go back to your sheet. Control V. Make this wider. And that's your first one. And so all you want to do is go through, once you've done that, go back and let's go to the next one. And just go through and do all of them. Price doesn't matter, condition doesn't matter, none of that stuff matters. All you want to do is go and just get the information. Now, what I like to do is get the contact number first. So you scroll down, get the contact number right here. Even has the person's name. It doesn't always have the person's name, but you're gonna copy, go to your spreadsheet, put it here. And then you go back and let's copy and paste the address. Do this part first before you even start sending them messages, because what you want to do is you want to create your list first, and then you just want to go through and create your messages afterwards. That way you can, you don't have to be toggling back and forward, and just go create your list. Once you have your list created, then you can go back and start sending the messages. So let me show you how you can get the messages sent out. Let's say you've got a list of 50 people. Addresses, contact numbers, addresses, contact numbers. You just go to Zillow, you scroll down, and you just get the person's contact number, you get the address, and that's all you need to do to create your own list. Now, the next part I mentioned is you have to have a Google Voice. And so with Google Voice, all you do is basically do the same thing. You type in Google Voice, and now this is the number that I have, and these are people that I've contacted in the past, but this is my Google Voice number. And so all you want to do is, for a new message, all you're going to do is type in the person's number, and you get that number from here. And once you have the person's number typed in, you come down here to the message. And on the next sheet, you're going to have a series of messages that you can send them. The different text messages and stuff you can send out. What I've already done is I've typed just a few of these messages here. And all you want to do is just come here, just copy just one of the lines, one of the messages from there. You're going to copy it. You're going to go into Google Voice, down here to the bottom, and you're going to paste it. And that's it. So once you have the person's contact number up here, and then you have all you're interested in selling your properties on term, and you just hit send. And it's as if you're sending that person a text message from your cell phone, which in actuality, you're sending it from the computer. Very, very nice, very simple, nothing too complicated. But that's all you basically do with your marketing. All right. And From there, you're just going to send messages and see who's interested. Let me go ahead and tell you, you're going to have a lot of people that say they're not interested. You have a lot of people who say no. A lot of people who say the property is sold. You're going to get a lot of rejections. So if you send 100 messages, you might get 95 rejections, 90 to 95. So that's a huge number. Those other 5 and 10 people, they may not be motivated, or they may, I say the other 6 or 7 people, they may not be motivated. They may want to know how you get the information or whatever. Once again, you can't get hung up on that as well. What you're looking for is that one person that says, hey, I am open to having a conversation with you. And then once that person is open to having a conversation with you, you contact them, you talk to them, and you see if you can make a deal. And you go from there. So that pretty much sets up your marketing. It shows you how to do it. Just go through, read this material, kind of go back through this video and see what I've done, and go ahead and set it up initially. Here's the next sheet. These are various text messages you can send to the seller. Once again, only send one message per seller, especially initially. And then from there, you can start having these text messages responses. So here's a sample sheet of some of the responses and stuff that you're going to have with the seller, or the conversations you can have with the seller that respond to your messages. For my example, I stated if you send out 100, you might get 90 no's off bat. No, not sold. I mean, it's already sold, or not interested in doing seller financing. This is a straight cash deal. A lot of times you get that, but sometimes you will get a positive response. And so here's some things you can say to keep the conversation going. As I stated earlier, this is not a be all end all, and you're going to have to be able to have a conversation with them. The idea is to try to get the seller on the phone once you identify someone that's interested in creative financing. But for the time being, you're going to be sending these messages, and you're going to send these messages through the app, through the Google Voice app. So you're not going to be sending these directly through your personal number. This is going to be the number where this is my number here, or whatever number Google Voice assigns you, that's going to be the number that you're going to be texting from. And this number is forwarded to my personal number as well. So even if you have a conversation with the person, your number will still be forwarded, or still be masked. You may say, well, Ray, why are you hiding your number? Why are you not sending them from your personal text message? Well, one way is this helps you keep things organized. You can kind of keep track of the conversations you've had through the Google Voice app. And it's just, you don't have to worry about people having your personal cell phone or number either. A lot of times you don't really want to have your personal cell phone number out there. Not that you're trying to be secretive or trying to hide anything, but you just kind of want to use a different number when you send your marketing out. So here's some quick responses. I'm not going to go through all of them, but like something the seller could say is, we need to sell at this time. Sorry. You can say, okay, no problem. Thanks for responding. Have a great day. A seller could say, possibly, what are your terms? You can say, great. Are you available to chat for a few minutes to discuss? And in parentheses, don't try to negotiate by text. They may say, no, why can't you just text me the terms? Say, I will need to get a little more information from you, and give you more information about me. That's why I asked to speak to you for a few minutes. Just try to get them on the phone to see what you can get worked out. Okay. And so these are other samples here that you can go through and see if it makes sense, or see if you can get the conversation going with the seller, and see if you have a motivated seller in place. Once you agree, the seller agrees to speak to you, then you have a seller lead sheet script here. This is something where you can start using when the seller agrees to talk with you. You can go through and have this sheet handy for you to kind of go through and just be able to get the information from the seller. And so once you get on the phone with them, you can say things like, thank you for taking the time to speak with me today. I promise to keep the set conversation brief. I just need a little more information about your property to see if it fits our buying criteria. What can you tell me about your property? And then you listen. So what you want to do is get the seller talking. Ideally, just like any form of negotiation, you kind of want to be in charge as much as you can, but at the same time, you want to listen more than you talk. So you want to get the seller to kind of open up and tell you about the property. And then if the seller asks, what do you want to know? Then you can follow up with, well, what kind of repairs have you made or what kind of repairs are needed? Once again, what we're just doing is just trying to get some information, fact finding, seeing what's going on with the property. All right, so they go through, and as they're telling you what's wrong with the property, you basically just taking notes. That's why I have these lines here. Just take some little brief notes. Roof 5 years old, HVAC 10 years old, the plumbing has been updated, 3 years ago, whatever. You can say it needs a new water heater, whatever they're telling you about the property. You just enter that information there. Then next, now only say this line here if the house is livable. If it's a junker, if it's something that needs to be wholesale, then you don't say this part. But you say, wow, this sounds like a nice property. Why are you selling? And you want to find the seller's motivation. It's very, very important that you find the seller's motivation whenever you negotiating with the property. All right. And then from there, you can say, what's the mortgage payoff and the monthly payments? Are you current? And if not, how far are you in arrears, which means behind on payments? It's very important to get that information too, because you want to find out if it's a pre-foreclosure or they're going through some type of distressful situation. Most of these sellers won't be, but some of them will. And so you need to know that information on the front end. And then you say, you mentioned that you will be open to discussing terms. So how familiar are you with seller financing or lease option? And then find out what they know. And then you say, if I can show you how we can give you a fair price, full price if there's equity, for your property, and you pay no real estate commissions, does that sound like something you're interested in? And then you just kind of want to get that commitment. And then from there, you want to explain the best option that fits their needs. If the property is owned free and clear, you talk about possible seller financing. And then you go back to the previous sheets and you can kind of brush up on what seller financing is. If there's an existing mortgage, then focus on a lease option or subject to, depending on their motivation and if they're current on the mortgage. And that's pretty much it for the script. I mean, you're going to have a more in-depth conversation. So just get as much information as you can from the seller. But the main thing as far as speaking with the seller on the phone is building that rapport. You have to let that person know that you're a real person. You have to kind of find out what moves them, what motivates them, and just see if it's something to where you can put a win-win deal together. This is a sample residential leasing option agreement that you can use once you tie it up. Ideally, you just want to control the property. And let's say by some chance the seller agreed to do seller financing or they agreed to do like a subject to, you're going to have to get a title work done through a title company or a closing attorney to make sure that the property doesn't have a lot of liens on it other than the mortgage, if it does have a mortgage, or to make sure that the seller can sell it. So you're going to still need to get a third party in to do that part of it. And you can have him or her or that company draft up a formal lease with the option to buy for you and the seller. You basically just tell them what the terms are. But this is just a sample, a residential leasing option agreement. And then the next thing is, how do you sell and do you flip this finance deal? How do you find the buyer? Up until now, we mainly focus on finding the property from the seller and negotiating the deal and making sure it's a deal. So now that you have this deal locked up and you and the seller have agreed to terms, whether it's seller financing, lease option, or subject to, and you've locked it up. Now, how do you make money? How do you actually make that 5K in 30 days? Well, this is how you do it. You have to go and you have to market that contract to find a buyer. And there's basically three kind of ways you can do it. There's actually more ways, but these are three ways that are common ways that you can get rid of the property. First one is you can flip the contract to an investor buyer. And there are buyers always looking for good properties in good neighborhoods that are priced well. So you can assign your contract to the end buyer for a higher amount than what the property is contracted for. So let's say you got the property contracted for 100,000, and the terms. Well, actually, I'll give you an example on the next one. Depending on the condition of the property and the price point, you can make an easy 5 to 25,000 just by assigning, aka reselling your contract to a cash buyer. This happens all the time through wholesaling, but you can also wholesale your creative finance deal as well to an end buyer. So this is one of the strategies you can do to get rid of the property. And believe you me, there are buyers out there that would take that property, especially if the property is in a great neighborhood and it's cash flowing well, or it has a potential to appreciate um, over the years, or let's say you get it at a discounted price. You have buyers ready to buy your property right now. Second one is sandwich lease option. This strategy is when you lease a property from a seller for a certain amount, and then you sublease it to a tenant buyer for a higher amount. For example, let's say you negotiate a 3-year term on a $100,000 house, and your monthly payments are $800 per month, and you and the seller agree to a $5,000 down payment or deposit. So from there, you're going to advertise that same property for 2 years. You could do it for a year if you wanted to, or 6 months, but you want to advertise it for 2 years. Just don't advertise it for 3 years, because you're locked in for the 3 years. And if by some chance something doesn't go well with the tenant buyer that you put in there, you still have time to put someone else in there and resell it. But under this example here, you got 2 years. You're going to mark the price up $20,000, because you're saying within 2 years it could appreciate with $20,000. Maybe it will, maybe it won't. But you're selling the property. Remember, you're selling the property in the future. You're not selling it right now. You're not cashing out of it now. So hopefully things turn around with the economy and stuff in the future. And so that's why you up in the price, you increasing the price. And then let's say the monthly rates going for that particular property is $1,000 per month. You're getting it for $800, but you're going to lease it out for $1,000. And instead of the person putting down a $2,000 down payment, you're gonna get a $5,000 down payment. All right. And so with these numbers, you can see you making an additional $200 per month cash flow. This is you, the investor. Plus, you can get an extra $3,000 from the deposit that the buyer put down, the tenant buyer. Remember now, of that 5,000, 2,000 goes to the seller, because that's what you and the seller agreed to. So really, you may say, well, Ray, I don't have $2,000. When you agree with the seller, you're just gonna put it in your contract, your agreement, that you're going to pay the seller their money once you put a tenant buyer in there. You give yourself a certain time, 30 days, 60 days, to lease it back out. And then once you identify someone that's going to live in there, then the money comes from that individual and not directly from you. So don't let this part stop you. Don't let the idea that you may not have $2,000 down stop you. You're going to get that money from the tenant buyer that's going to occupy the property. And since you're actively involved in the deal until the buyer qualifies for their own, then you will be the middleman. And in essence, you're going to make the 2,000, the extra $200 per month. In addition to, you also going to get the $3,000 profit. And then at the end, you sell it for 120,000, and you're getting the property for 100,000. So in essence, you're going to also make a $15,000 profit on top of what you cash flow for 2 years, which is $200 per month, plus the $3,000 that was the difference between the $5,000 what the person put down and the $2,000 what you gave the seller as a deposit. I know this may sound like a lot of information, but trust me, guys, this stuff happens all the time. And so in essence, you're going to be making a great profit off of this one deal. And then you can do short-term rentals. Number 3, depending on location, you can probably do like some type of Airbnb. I know there's a lot of rules and regulations coming through that's making it a little tougher to do that strategy. But at the same time, it is an option as of now for you to be able to do it. As far as where do you advertise and find these end buyers, the short answer is they're everywhere. You can start with your local and internet network on your internet, like the network people that you network with on social media. And you can see who's actively looking to purchase creative finance deals. These sources could be like social media platforms, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, Craigslist, especially like Facebook groups and the sponsored ads. Sponsored ads are like when people actually trying to advertise to get you to maybe buy their program. Well, you can look at that to see who's actively in the business and maybe reach out to them to see if they're interested in purchasing the property, creative financing. Local businesses and venues. You build relationships with local communities and people you think of when you first come to real estate. Like when real estate comes to your mind, who do you think of first? You can reach out to that individual. And a lot of times I like to ask them, who do you know that's looking to buy a property in this neighborhood, in this zip code, and this price point? And a lot of times people know people. People know people that may be going through a situation. You can get a referral as far as a lead to call that person up and see if they're interested in selling, or you can find a potential tenant buyer. You can find a potential investor buyer just by going to your network and talking with people and seeing who needs what and solving that issue. It's all about solving problems. We are in the people problem. We are the people solving problem, people problem solving industry. I get it right. Solve problems. When people have problems, it's up to you to solve those problems. And then offline marketing, you can pull out bandit signs, which is those signs you see on the side of the road, like we buy houses. You can also put out there, a 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom, rent to own house, for $60,000. You're going to get some calls, especially if that 60,000 is below market, or if it's in a pretty decent rental area. You'll get people that will hit you up and that may be interested in taking that property off your hands. You can do business drop cards, those little things where you see people may have $100 bill and they drop it on the ground, which is actually littering. I don't really recommend littering, but that's a way where people can get their message out there as well, your network and other investors, people you can JV with. There's so many people you can market to. Lastly, um, next steps, what to do now. This basically concludes this mini course. At this point, you should have a general foundation on what creative financing is and how you can implement it in your business. If you feel you need more help, you can join my free Facebook group called FIRE, Freedom in Real Estate, where we discuss real estate and how it can create a part-time and a full-time income for you. I have a link to the group to join. You just basically have to just go and you can type in this information in the Facebook group search bar to send a request to join. Also, number 2, you can schedule a free 15-minute one-on-one strategy call with me where we deep dive in areas to see about your real estate business. You can also schedule a time. This is the link to schedule that time with me. And then thirdly, you can join my paid private masterclass group where we meet weekly online. We normally meet on Sunday evenings, and we discuss how to grow a profitable real estate investing business. If you're interested in that, you can send me a private message on Facebook or Instagram, and we can see if it's a fit for you. But that's it. This is the course here in a nutshell. I wanted to keep it short. I wanted to keep it simple, and I wanted to keep it actionable. I want it to be a thing to where you can go and you can get started today. The main thing, and I'll go back, is setting up your marketing. Make sure you go and you set up your marketing. Go create your sheet through Google Sheets, or you can do Excel. And then from there, go to Zillow.com, start scrolling down, go to for sale by owners, scroll down, and create your list. You want to create your list next. And make sure you create your list before you start sending them messages, because you don't want to go back and forth, back and forth. Like, you go get the person's information, you copy, you paste it into your Google Voice, and then you send that message, and then you try to go and find someone else. Just go ahead and create your list first, and then from there, you want to start sending them messages one by one, and just see who's interested and who's open to the idea of working with you, or potentially selling their property on terms. As I stated earlier, you're going to have a lot of no's, a lot of people that's not going to be interested, and that's fine. I mean, it's totally fine. What you want to do is identify that person that's motivated enough to sell on terms now, and then you see what you can work out with him or her. And then from there, you just advertise that property once you have it locked up to a cash buyer, and see if you can get a deal done. And ideally, you want to try to make at least 5,000 on these deals. But if this is your first deal, and let's say there's not much margin in there, you only can make 2,000. Okay, that's $2,000 more than what you had before. And the other great thing is, you did all of this spending no money in marketing. You spent time, because the whole premises of this strategy is to be able to go and market with no money out of pocket. Zero marketing dollars strategy. Zero marketing dollar strategy. So if you do have some resources or some money to market, then you probably can get a list and start doing some cold calling, or maybe pull out banner signs, or get a website built and do some SEO, for those of you that may have some money to invest. But this is mainly for that person that may not have any money to get started with, and you want to go and you want to start trying to generate some money through real estate. This is a great strategy to get started with. So that's it. That's how you make 5K in 30 days flipping real estate, with no marketing money. This is just a program where, I'm doing this personally, as well as some other people in my masterclass that we meet on Sunday evenings. And so we're going through the process. We're doing it ourselves now, and it works. And so go and apply this. If you feel like you need more help, more support, then reach out to me. Reach out to me, and let's see if we can work something out, because there's plenty of opportunities there out here in the real estate market. And once you identify someone that's motivated enough to work with you, then you can go and you can make some good money, and start helping people and start making a difference in this real estate niche. Thank you very much for your time. Thank you for investing in this course. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. If you need more help, you can set up that 15-minute strategy call. Just go to the link, and we can talk that way. And if you're interested in learning more about it or going further, then let's talk about getting you into the masterclass, because I'm telling you, we're gonna go out and we're gonna make this money. We're gonna help people, and we're gonna make a difference. And I want the same thing for you. All right. So this has been the video recording to the course. As I stated before, if you need extra help, reach out to me, let me know. But I appreciate you. Thank you very much, and have an awesome day. Peace.